So for the past 2 years or so, I've been posting on a small Avatar the Last Airbender fan page, and essentially wanted to share some of that content here. Most of what I say will essentially be a verbalization of what's been posted on the page, so if you want to read content like this, I encourage you to check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. What does avatar mean? There are multiple definitions of the word avatar. The definition most of us are used to is an icon or figure representing a particular person in computer games, internet forums, etc. The Hinduism definition is where avatar gets its name, meaning a manifestation of a deity or released soul in bodily form on Earth, an incarnate divine teacher. Did you know Aang is technically Zuko's great-grandfather? Zuko is the great-grandson of Roku, and Aang is Roku reincarnated, which makes them related, in a bit of a spiritual sense. Where did lava bending come from? Avatar Roku was the first seen in the Avatar universe to use lava bending. He does this when he takes over Aang's body on Crescent Island while in the Avatar state. Jafar, the Avatar before Yang Chin, is the next to be seen performing this technique. This was in the episode The Avatar State in Season 2 Episode 1, when each of the avatars displaying their power were demonstrating bending unique to their original element. This is evidence that it was originally an ambiguous ability between fire and earthbenders. KYOSHI later does this when she's separating her homeland between the rest of the Earth Kingdom, creating KYOSHI Island in the episode Avatar Day. The last time it was seen in The Last Airbender was a flashback Roku had in the episode The Avatar and the Fire Lord in Season 3. He bended a large river of lava away from his home on the side of an island before he passed away. The next time we see this technique is in The Legend of Korra when Gazan is introduced, and the technique is now explicitly unique to earthbenders, probably in an effort to develop Bolin's useless character. Avatar KYOSHI lived to the age of 230, and when she felt like it was her time, she transferred her life to the spirit world. Her fighting style is blunt yet graceful. With her fighting prowess, she created the Dai Li, the most skillful group of earthbenders to ever exist. Her personality is meant to be as rock-like as possible. She warded off an entire army with ease, and, in the most literal sense, separated KYOSHI Island from the rest of the Earth Kingdom. At the trial that took place in the episode Avatar Day, she intervened because she felt like Aang was mocking her. She can only be described as an astonishing powerhouse of physical, mental, and spiritual energy. For those wondering how there were flying bison alive after Appa, in The Legend of Korra, there were several flying bison on Air Temple Island. There had been several small herds of bison that survived and were scattered around the air temples. Those herds had been bred and were watched closely by humans until they had enough numbers to freely roam Air Temple Island. Why is the Western Air Temple so different from other temples in both location and appearance? Knowing the airbenders were nomads and they traveled between air temples to master different fighting styles, they must eventually travel the long distances between the southern and northern air temples, probably without crossing the Siwang Desert. The Western Air Temple was most likely used as a pit stop for air nomads making their journey. This could also explain why the architecture stands out so much from the other temples. It provides shade from the heat and a fresh source of water. Most airbenders are born in autumn, and with the hotter climate of the Western Air Temple, it's unlikely that it was a permanent residence to most. This makes sense as the architecture mirrors that of Tibetan grottos, houses on the sides of cliffs. Grottos were used for similar purposes, with the monks most commonly moving from one settlement to the next, initially to follow herds of animals for crop rotation, which continued on as tradition. Wan Shi Tong, the protector of the library, mostly relies on intimidation to overpower foes. His incredible reputation and size is usually enough to petrify any run-of-the-mill intruders. Compared to a bending master, however, he isn't all that powerful. What he lacks in physical strength and bending power, he makes up for in knowledge, right? Well, the title, He Who Knows 10,000 Things, really isn't all that impressive, considering the human brain, over the course of a lifetime, can gather petabytes of data, which is more than enough to know many times that of Wan Shi Tong. In The Legend of Korra, Jinora meets him on her journey through the spirit world and corrects him on his misconception of how a radio works. Even in the small time Team Avatar was in the library, Sokka managed to best him twice, which doesn't speak well to his countless battle strategies and superior knowledge of the elements. Sparky Boom Man, Combustion Man, Zuko's friend, he goes by many names. Supposedly debilitated troops from the war were experimented on to try to make use of them somehow. In doing so, the Master Assassin was created. There's also Combustion Woman from The Legend of Korra. This is just speculation, but the third eye symbolism probably suggests that they're able to tap into their spiritual energy and use it as a weapon. Did you know frozen frogs are actually real? Arctic frogs, specifically Alaskan wood frogs, put themselves into a bed of water that eventually freezes up during the cold months in order to survive the winter. Wait, they freeze themselves in order to survive the cold? Yes, that wasn't a typo. You would think everything about the properties of water and how it expands when it freezes would mean they couldn't actually survive being completely frozen. But their bodies are built to survive it with the incredible properties of their mucus and their cells having evolved to produce antifreeze chemicals. In terms of medicine, people don't actually suck on them, but they have been studied to advance human preservation technology.
In the episode, Nightmares and Daydreams, the Korean animators made fun of many tropes in anime. The writing style in the dreams mocks that of a poorly written anime. Aang's hairstyle also changes with each dream to imitate the most popular types of anime protagonists.
Energy bending is a technique first done by the lion turtles and was a technique taught to Aang at the finale of Avatar the Last Airbender. It requires an individual to have an astonishing amount of spiritual energy, which makes it unique to avatars and spirits. Jinora may be the only exception to this, but that's not unreasonable given her connection to the past Avatar. In The Legend of Korra, during her fight with Vaatu, Korra's glow is similar to that of Rava's, symbolizing pure energy, whereas red symbolizes corrupt energy. Aang demonstrates energy bending on Korra at the end of Season 1, which is what gives her the ability to bend all the elements back. The ocean spirit in Season 1 of Avatar the Last Airbender may be another example. The glow of water caused by the ocean spirit may be a combination of water and energy bending. We're left in the dark as to whether or not Sokka ever retrieved his space sword. The sword he has in the picture, Old Friends, could just be any old sword. We don't know if Boomerang ever comes back either. In the comics, he has a boomerang that looks identical to his old one, but it could just be a replacement. Also, we never learned what happened to HAWKY after he flew off. Suki's makeup never smudges, even when she completely dives into water, like when she went to save Toph in the episode The Serpent's Pass. Speaking of that episode, Sokka turned down Suki's kiss in the Serpent's Pass because, during the night, Princess Yue keeps a constant vigil. She would be able to see Sokka's heart moving on quickly, which he thought would hurt her. That's the significance of the moon being in between them during that scene. The next day, however, after crossing the Serpent's Pass, he gladly kissed her, probably because he didn't want Suki to doubt whether or not he loved her. Though he is painted in an antagonistic light, General Fong's plan was actually quite realistic and clever. If put into a life-threatening situation, Aang will automatically go into the Avatar state. Knowing that, why not let him get beat up by the Fire Lord for a little, and then have the Avatar state be triggered? The war ends months earlier than if Aang were to master all the elements, and there are significantly less casualties. Despite Aang taking his time to master the elements anyway, essentially the same thing happens. He gets beaten up by the Fire Lord for some time, and then the Avatar state kicks in, which turns the tides of battle. Looking back on how things played out, General Fong's plan doesn't seem so irrational. This is my take on the BUMI versus Toph debate. BUMI is the self-proclaimed most powerful earthbender alive, and Toph is implied to be the most skillful because she can undermine every move her opponent makes with her ability to sense their vibrations. When it comes down to it, Toph's mastery of metal bending, in addition to her ability to know and predict her opponent's movements, would likely give her the upper hand in a one-on-one. As seen in her fight with the boulder, raw power doesn't determine the outcome of a match. There was a comic exploring this topic, but it ended in a cliffhanger, and sadly we didn't get to see the result. During the finale, when Azula is banishing everyone, the servants and Dai Li agents are so distraught because they only have 2 places to go. Keep in mind the entire Earth Kingdom is now under the Fire Nation's control, so outcasts can no longer seek refuge there. The only place left they have are the air temples, which are abandoned, and the North and South Poles. The Dai Li agents are the ones who immediately recognize this and throw a spiteful look at her before they exit. The good news is they all probably didn't have time to leave the Fire Nation before Azula and Ozai were defeated. I hope you enjoyed listening to just a random bunch of things I had to say about this show. I've watched Avatar probably a couple dozen times over the last 12 years, and it's actually still my favorite show. If you want to check out the Facebook page where I originally wrote this stuff, the link will be in the description. And if you have any feedback, leave it in the comment section, and let me know what you'd like to have discussed in a future video.
Sneeze. Sneeze.
What's your problem, bub?
I'm about to...